We were robbed by our own people. Sometimes where there was no courage among strangers. Often, our boats sank when the water was less. Sometimes the people who are closest to our heart, to whom we have even a blood relation, damage our soul tremendously that we wouldn't be able to trust anyone anymore. Let's turn back to 2017. When I got married, I was 26 years old and she was of 24. I belonged to a very rich family and lived a very green life. We had a very big bungalow opposite to famous mall. I got married to a girl who was very beautiful and tall. I thought I was kind of short-heighted than my wife. But my wife did not let me realize that my wife also looked very happy after coming to our house because she probably saw such a big house for the first time in her life. My father was a very rich businessman and he never forced me to work. My mother was dead and I have an older sister who is settled in an influential family based in Germany. My father is a businessman but due to his old age, he used to work at home. Now, he seems occupied in cryptocurrency work and invested in many places. My father used to say that he has so much money that even if I eat for 10 years without earning, he'll never run out of money. When I got married, I did not have any job, etc. And I used to depend totally on my father's money. My father had a very calm nature. He did not talk much. He was mostly busy with his work. Therefore, having 4 people in our home, including my father, me, my wife and our maid, Christy. Christy had been working in our house for a long time. She knew every nook and cranny of our house. I remember at the beginning of our marriage, we used to go for chocolate ice cream and caramel cupcakes every night. On weekends, I would take her to the shopping mall near Arlo where she used to do a lot of shopping. We used to buy sexy see-through lunch that were lightweight, stretchy, smooth share or mainly of silk. I actually used to blow money off my father. Our married life was superb. We used to try different things. I was fully satisfied with her. Every time at night when I often went to drink water and had to leave the room, I used to look at my father who was still working there with a laptop on his hands. Or maybe he was watching something naughty because he got confused. I used to get embarrassed that he might probably listen to us. One day when I came back from gym, I got very good news. My wife was smiling at me and her eyes was downcast. I told my wife that you look so gorgeous when you smile and then asked her, darling, why are you smiling? She quietly came close and whispered in my ears, baby, you're gonna get a baby soon. I was like extremely happy and kissed her on her forehead. I soon realized that now I have responsibilities too. So I need to get a job. If I haven't asked my father for a job, he might settle me in a very good place or even would launch business for me. But I wanted a job based on my own blaze and skills. So finally I started looking for a job and very soon I got a good job where my salary was just okay. But company claimed me for the promotion based on my progress. Now I used to work day and night to earn more money. I used to pamper my wife and asked her often every hour that what she wanted to eat. She mainly had cravings of pasta. So I then called Christy to cook healthy pasta for her. I showed affection even more. During her pregnancy, we used to hold hands and have long warm hugs. I encouraged her to take breaks and naps. One day I was sitting in the office doing some work and suddenly my mobile started ringing on attending the call. I came to know that my wife got labor pain in a hustle bustle. I finally reached my home, gave a rub to my wife's foot and went to hospital. My wife delivered a baby boy who resembled like my father. I held my wife's hand tightly and kissed on her forehead. I picked up my baby in my lap and kissed his soft hand and whispered in his ears, baby, you will be lucky. Like your grandfather. Everyone started smiling there, including my father. My wife was almost failed, but one can see the bit cleavage. So I put a cloth over her. Meanwhile, I caught a sight at my father. He was literally staring at my wife's chest. I got it kind of creepy but ignored. Finally, we reached home with the baby and the baby was given a warm welcome. After a few days, I took her to shopping where she probably bought all the dresses and all my savings were all ruined. But I was happy to see her happy and excited face for new outfits. COVID-19 was started and everyone go to work at home. I remember seeing people who were really close to me die in front of my own eyes due to this pandemic. I was very worried about my father that he already had serious heart and breathing issues. I was very highly depressed. That days, my wife got mild fever and cough. I took her to doctor, but she got COVID negative. We had restored to all necessary measures to avoid the coronavirus so that we could not be the victim. To be honest, the virus was nothing short of an accident that seemed as time to kill millions of people. I am sad about our maid Christy because she was a victim of COVID-19. A new maid now working in our home named Julie. She's 18 years old, helpless girl belonged to extremely poor family on lockdown. I go to work from home. We used to be locked in our room all day. We cuddle, eat, watch Netflix, watch everything and have fun all day. I really enjoyed that time and it seems like we tried almost everything those days. When our baby cried, we used to hand it over to our new maid, Julie. Perhaps my son got motherhood in her lap. My baby got really attached to her during the pandemic when the COVID-19 finally over and I again went to the physical job. I was kind of not happy. I just went to office after lockdown. I was very happy to hear that I had been promoted. My boss patted me on the shoulder and said that you've really done a great job and you should be promoted. I was kind of confused because I spent my whole lockdown with my wife and almost ignored my work. It seemed to me that fate had been very kind to me in an enthusiastic way. I randomly called my wife and told everything and she was very happy and congratulated me. I then promised her to take her to club by today. She began to ask me what to wear, what color to wear. But meanwhile, I saw my boss coming ahead towards me and then I hung up the call that night. We went to the club and my wife looked very attractive. She wore royal blue short, strapless maxi with high peeps toes heel. When we were leaving for the club, my father was looking at my wife with the wrong sight. My wife looked even taller wearing it. So I was feeling insecure when I asked her to remove heels. She gave me no response and said, "Come on, darling. I don't mind you being short and I being tall." We were dancing in the club. Meanwhile, my phone started ringing. When I picked up, the person on the call told me that boss is calling me right now. I was totally bewildered as to why boss had called me at that hour of the night. Well, my wife was a bit angry with me for that, but I left her at home and I went to boss. When I reached the office, my boss greeted me with a warm hug and he said to me that you have done in a very few months what people cannot do for years. I'm very proud of you. After that, I was confused. So I asked him, "What do you want to say? I don't understand." He said, "Well done, boy, get ready. You have to leave for Germany tomorrow for work and your salary will be tripled." I had no words at that time. I was in a state of confusion. I felt both sad and happy. At the same time, I was happy because my salary was going to increase and sad because I had to leave my wife and son. Then I thought that I have to accept this for my son. However, it was only a matter of some time. I thought once I earn good money, I'll start my own business. I went home and discussed this whole matter with my wife. She was probably not happy and was not satisfied with my going, but I did not accept her favor. I compel her to go for me for our son's future. It is true that I did not like anything at home, but I wanted to set an example for my son so that he can proudly tell everyone that this is my father. I packed my stuff, etc., and I went to the airport. My father and my wife was kind of sad. I then kissed my baby, hugged my wife. My father gave me a smile and said, "God bless you, son." I had clearly told my maid to take extra care of my father because he had a heart problem. I arrived in Germany. I called my wife and she told me that she missed me. I also miss my family a lot but spent most of the time doing office work so that I could earn more money. I was not even known. And almost 5 months have passed like this when I was sad. I used to call my wife at night, but my wife often does not pick up. I think she must be putting my baby to sleep. I was badly craving for my wife and baby. I wanted to meet my family and leave for my home. But my boss forbade me, saying there's having a track of work depending on you. Only a few things are left. Then you'll go to your hometown and live with your family happily. I would personally agree with them and then called my wife. But my wife did not pick up the call. I did not understand where she was busy. One day I felt working my laptop broke. So I pulled out my old laptop. I honestly don't even remember the password, but somehow I opened. My wife's email was logged into this laptop and I was completely shocked when my eyes caught on her search history where she was searching videos of old men. Meanwhile, I received a call from my wife and she told me that she's pregnant. There was no place for my happiness. I wanted to jump and dance. I was extremely happy of our second baby. Well, I wanted to give her a sudden surprise and made her delighted by returning home suddenly without telling her. I then told my boss about my wife's pregnancy and took permission from him. He allowed me and then I finally left for my city. When I finally reached home, it was about 11:30 at night. I was very excited to see my family. When I entered my house, it was dark everywhere and the light of the whole house was switched off. Then I stepped towards my bedroom. I saw that my wife was not there. Meanwhile, I heard some sounds which I thought might be my wife watching some dirty stuff. When I followed the sound, it was coming from outside, out of my father's room. I held my heart. I did not understand what was happening. Finally, slowly, when I entered my father's room, I saw my wife and my father being together. Seeing all this, my heart was breaking that I burst into tears and got angry enough that I easily took the life of my wife and my father. Suddenly the sound of my baby crying started from behind and Julie was crying the baby. She came to me and said, "It's not just now, it's been happening for months since you left." I know that if I made create panic or said anything to my father, he would surely have a heart attack. I don't want to cause his death. I was not making a fuss that my father did not transfer all this property to someone else. I am silent. I don't know what to do and how to react. What happened to me is unforgettable. My father's condition is very serious these days due to excessive relationships in this age. And the doctor has told that he has few days to live. Perhaps the baby in my wife's womb is my own brother. My wife doesn't know that if I know the whole truth, I don't know whose fault it is. I will treat my wife in a way that she'll remember for the rest of her life. I'm just waiting for my father to die. Should I call the baby